So there's two different things that go on with persistence. Number one, if you're too persistent or too like obnoxiously on call for a girl, then it does come off as needy, and needy comes off as creepy. So that's true. So the more persistent you're being, every single little bit of persistence, you are sort of losing value. True. However, that said, if the girl's not hanging out with you anyway, if the girl's not in your presence, I would rather be valueless in her presence and build value from there than be valuable and never see her, because that's not practical. So there's this idea of like, I have value in my head separate from the girl, and you know, I'm high status, but is that getting you laid? Not unless you're in the same room as her. There's a quote from my one of my students a couple weekends ago. We're talking about like phone gaming, getting the girl out and that kind of stuff. And his quote was, it's not like you can send your dick over the phone in ones and zeros. All right? Like, you have to get her in person. So yes, every time you call a girl, you're kind of losing value, especially if she doesn't pick up. But that said, call her and get her on the date and risk it, because all the value in the world 100 miles away from her, or even like 5 miles away and not knowing where she lives, is useless to you. So my personal philosophy is typically call until they tell you to fuck off, their boyfriend calls you back, or they change their number. Typically, because what do you have to lose, right?
Nothing.
Yeah, burn it to the ground. Now that's different in a small social circle or a school environment, right? In that case, you don't want to do that. You want to stay far away from that. But we're talking big cities where you're not going to meet people often and you're never going to see the girl again, most likely, right? In that case, what do you have to lose by burning it to the ground? But do it with intelligence, right? There's a difference between touching base, you know, once every few weeks with something that's cool and value offering and funny and not demanding anything from her, versus saying, hey, do you want to go out? And then like 3 hours later, hey, do you want to go out? 3 hours later, hey, do you want to go out? Right? That's just stupid, okay? So it's persistence, but it's intelligent, playful persistence, not stupid, pig-headed, obnoxious persistence. Does that make sense? And there's a big thing with game in general, but especially with text game type of persistence. You want to be offering value and not asking for a lot, especially at the start, okay? Ask yourself, when it comes to text and phone game, why do you get a phone number? Why do you text rather than call, right? Answer to the first part, why do you get a phone number? It should not be because the phone number is a trophy. All right? The phone number should not be a trophy to you. I know there's like the movies like How Do You Like Them Apples and all that kind of stuff, but a phone number is just a tool, a means to an end. It's not a victory in itself, and don't treat it as such, all right? In fact, if you have a chance to take a girl home that night or continue the interaction right then, you should avoid getting the phone number oftentimes, right? Say, for example, this is an interesting paradox. If you want to take a girl home same night, you're with her in the club, it's going pretty well, and she says, why don't you get my number? To me, a lot of times, I will actually say no to that. Or I won't overtly say no, I'll change the subject and ignore it. Okay? Now, why do I do that?
Because then if you leave, she's no way of connecting with you. So it makes her want to have to stay there, and she's kind of forced to keep investing or lose you.
Exactly.
She doesn't get the validation.
Yes, but more that one. But yeah, both a little bit. Fear of loss, right? If she knows that we've exchanged numbers, in the back of her head, she thinks, oh, if we don't hang out now, we can do something some other time. But if she doesn't have my number, she has no way to contact me. She knows if she doesn't come with me right now, she will never see me again. So there is much more leverage in trying to get her to go home with you, right? And then if you can't get her to go home with you later, if you've tried everything, the friends are dragging her away, there's no other way out, then settle for the number, right? And then ironically, paradoxically, try and stay 5 or 10 minutes after getting the number so it doesn't look like the number was a trophy. But if you really want to take a girl same night, especially like if you guys ever go to Vegas or cities that are very pull-centric cities, right? Phone numbers in Vegas are a fucking waste of time, for the most part. Like the only time a phone number in Vegas is a good use of your time is if you have specific plans behind it and the reason she's giving it to you is to ditch her friends and come back out and meet you. Like short of that is pretty much useless, okay? So you want to be keeping that fear of loss, because girls know, like if a girl's in Vegas and she lives in Iowa and you live in California or you live in Philadelphia and she's in town for one night and you're in town for one night, she knows that it has to be on for that night. But still, if she has a phone number in the back of her head, she's like, well, if it's meant to be, we'll stay in touch for 6 months from across the country, and then it'll be like that romantic comedy where they met on the top of the building. And No, bullshit, all right? None of that. Have you? Did you actually be on top of a building? That would have been awesome if you had. Yeah, but I mean, it can happen. I've had girls that I've texted or called for a long period of time, but the point is, it's unlikely, and it's not really probably the best use of your time, even in like 99% of cases. So do what's the optimal play, and the optimal play most of the time is continued interaction then if you can, right? The other reason to get a phone number, by the way, is if the girl's good enough, but you think you can do better. All right? Especially if it's early in the night. Say it's 11 o'clock at night, the girl's good enough, but you think you can do better, but you'd totally consider something with her. Get the phone number, continue with your night, and then just realize the fact that you played that set unoptimally in order to play the night more optimally. So that's another strategy there, okay? Okay, but so the point is, the purpose of a phone number is to get a meetup. It's not as a trophy, right? Now, second question, why would you text versus call or call versus text? What's the distinction? I'm looking at you, John, on this one, because we talked about this before. Okay, so why would you want to call versus text? What's the benefit of calling over texting?
You're vulnerable. You can score higher points.
More communication.
Shows you're not a wuss.
It's more investment on your part.
All those things. Definitely all of those things. Shows you're not a wuss, puts you on the line, et cetera, et cetera. The biggest reason, though, I would say, is that it's a more intimate form of communication. It's closer to sex, okay? Sex is the most intimate form of communication. Communicating in person would be next, phone, then text, then maybe email, okay? So you always want to be doing the most intimate form of communication you can get away with, just because you're communicating more, you're getting more done in less time, and you have more opportunities to set yourself apart, right? If you can convey body language and vocal tonality as well as words, you can set yourself apart, you can build attraction much more quickly and much more fully than you could with just words. If you can send words in real time versus words delayed 6 hours for every exchange, again, you can convey personality much better, right? So the closer you can get to sex communication or in-person communication, the better off you're going to be as a general rule. However, the reason to use text versus phones is because women are idiots and they don't pick up their phones. And sometimes because they're busy, sometimes there's a lot of good reasons why they don't pick up their phones. But the reason to text instead of calling is because statistically, in most cases with girls, they will be more willing to return a quick text than they will to engage in a phone call, right? Why is that? Because a phone call for a girl could potentially be awkward, right? She doesn't want that awkwardness. Because a phone call is a bigger time commitment. And because a phone call can be a loss of validation for them, right? Say that you had an interaction with a girl that went really, really well, and she liked you, you liked her. Now you get on the phone the next day, and it's boring and lame. Now she feels shitty about that interaction. She felt so good, she felt it was so magical at the time. She doesn't actually care that much about whether she sleeps with you. She's gonna sleep with somebody, but she liked the validation of some cool guy liking her and having that good moment with him. On the phone, she risks that, right? Whereas with a text message, she can always just not respond, or it's always just a brief throw off, whatever. It's not as big of a risk, okay? So that's why girls will text and not call. Where did this original question come from, by the way? Because I kind of got off on a tangent.
Persistence.
Oh, the persistence thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so with persistence, be as persistent as you need to, but not more so, typically. And be persistent in a value-offering way. So like, for example, when you end up sending text messages, you don't want your first text to be, hey, it's Todd, let's hang out, right? Because you're offering nothing. It's not cool, it's not interesting, it's not fun, and you're asking for everything. You're asking for the meetup right then, okay? So, and you're also asking a yes or no question that if she says no, it kind of kills the interaction. So there's like 3 huge mistakes in that text as far as for an initial text, okay? Instead, what's one that I did recently? I texted out, this isn't for a first text, but a good value offering text that comes to mind. I texted, just hired 4 interns in my pajamas, ... How they got in my pajamas, I'll never know, right? It's an old joke from the Marx Brothers, like from the 1930s. That's how old that comedy is. But it's just value offering. I'm not saying let's hang out. I'm not saying I need something from you. I'm not saying do some high invested response. In fact, if you sent that and didn't get a response, then you just waited it, you could send something else and it's totally fine. You just sent something cute and funny and fun. You just offered value. So you didn't lose value in the interaction by sending that text, right? Whereas, let's hang out tonight, 7 work for you, and then you don't get a response. Now you lost a lot of value, okay? And so be cognizant of that and be careful of that. And the further they get in the interaction, the more you can ask of them, and the less value you need to offer with every text. So they're constantly going to be moving, either liking you more and getting closer to being willing to go out, or moving away from it and calibrate from there. That said, as soon as they're being very responsive via text, I want to get them on the phone, personally. Sometimes I do set plans just via text, especially if they initiate the plan. In some way, then I'll set plans just via text, but I prefer to get them on the phone if it's at all tricky, okay? If it's at all a difficult situation. I'll tell you one situation I actually mentioned to a couple guys while we were waiting here. I was in New York doing a boot camp. I got something like 20 numbers in one night on boot camp, which is ridiculous because I'm not even I can't even do good sets on boot camp. It's these short, quick, whatever sets, but I was just really on that night. But I was getting numbers so fast, I couldn't even save them properly on my phone and text my name to them before I'd grab the next girl and be getting a number. So after that night, by the way, the reason I mention that is general rule for phone game, always, 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 always get your name in their phone with your number, period, always. Because otherwise, they won't know who it is, and then you'll run into awkwardness, okay? So, but because I was getting so many numbers so fast, I violated my own rule in New York. So I just mass texted all the girls, what are you doing tonight? Because I was in town for 1 day, right? And it's not a good text game either, right? And just bad text game, and I'd played bad phone game. Why? Because I was on boot camp, I was in town for 2 days. So do as I say, not as I do, all right? But so that's what I did. So I get a response back from this girl, who is this, right? So I say Todd. She goes, Todd who? So I'm like, okay, this is fucked. So what do I do when it's fucked? I play to either hit a home run or strike out very quickly, especially because I was in town for no time, right? Caller would have been actually a good point, good thing right there, but I went one step further before calling. I texted back, such a slut. Because I wanted to provoke a reaction. I wanted to get some playback, okay? I wanted some sort of investment, period. So she texts back, excuse me, question mark, exclamation mark, or something like that. Then what do? Pick up the phone, instantly call her. Why? Because she's emotionally reactive, so even if she doesn't like me, even if she doesn't want to talk to me pleasantly, she wants to scream at me right now. So she's gonna pick up the phone, right? And then on top of that, I know that she's next to her phone because she just texted me, right? So it's an opportunity to get the interaction started. Right now, is it the most pleasant start to the interaction? No. But I'll actually get her on the phone, I'll actually have a conversation with her, and I'll actually have an opportunity to set a date too. As opposed to when it's, who is this Todd who? That's a fucked situation, right? So any turnaround is better than nothing there.
Yeah, I was talking earlier, one of my friends lives in North Carolina, a girl went cold on quite a week, and he typed, you're such a fag, and he did the same thing.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Tim used to, when he was working consistently with RSD, his go-to text off Flakes was you're shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Did you put that in natural, Tim? Or, yeah, he might have. But yeah, anything that provokes a response, anything that will get them chasing, right? I had a girl in Canada. It was one of the most fun text situations ever. Because basically she, I think both of our phones had died, and so nobody had anybody's number saved. Oh, no. That's what it was. We both had 4 numbers, and we couldn't actually exchange numbers that could be saved or whatever, and so I had to get my friend's phone and then text her later, and so there's no way to save the number. And so, actually even better, this is what happened. I fucked up from my own number. That's what happened, that's right. I fucked up from my own phone number, but I still wanted it. And there was enough weirdness, and I knew that she'd been out enough days in a row that she might pick up a text, so then I decided to pick her up from my friend's number. So I started texting from my friend's number. I started with the text, fuck you. And just got her reactive and got her enough chasing me and enough wanting to yell at me that she and her friend ended up coming to meet up with us just to see who it was. That night. She had no idea who she was coming to meet up with, but I'd built enough intensity and emotional shit that worked out. Forget how I fucked it up on my own phone, but anyway, yeah. It's a good exercise, by the way. If you guys ever want to, for pure text game or pure phone game exercise, actually you already do this, but get girls' numbers that you don't even know. For example, say you have a friend who's been trying to get a hold of a girl and she's flaking on him. just do a quick number exchange. Be like, here, I'll trade you 5 flakes for you trade me 5 flakes. All right? And then try and get them out. See if you can do it. It's a good text and phone game exercise.